Hello, poop farts of the internet. I am the Shazman, and today I'm gonna show you how to actually do stuff in Blender. Alright, very nice, very cool. So the first thing I want to actually show you is that how to actually move the damn camera, alright? So you loaded up Blender, right? This is a fresh file and whatnot, you know, you're kind of just sitting here and wondering what you're supposed to do, right? Don't worry, it's actually surprisingly simple. So if you want to move the camera, right? You can just kind of like hold the middle mouse button, you know, the scroll wheel, and just kind of like move your mouse around. That's how you move the camera. Alright, that's one way. The second way you can move your camera is that you go to this like little hand icon right here, right next to this circle thing. Just kind of like click it and just kind of like drag around. That's another way you can move the camera. Very nice, very cool. Anyway, the other thing you can do, there's more. Damn it. Alright, that's how you can move the camera around. You can also kind of like click on these these like on this gimbal and stuff if you want to snap your camera on a different view. Like if you want to snap your camera on the x-axis, now you can. The y-axis, click on this y icon. That's very cool. If you want to snap your camera to the z-axis, now you can. Very nice. So that's how you can move your camera around. Now it's time to actually show you how you can move the object around. So let's just say you want this cube to move around this cube, right? What do you do? So this is how you can move the cube around, right? So you can just kind of like press G and just kind of like move your mouse around. That is if you just kind of like want to raw dog this thing, right? Just kind of like move around like this. But if you want to actually move it in a straight line and such, kind of like this, it's actually pretty simple. So like this is how you can do it. So you press G, and then let's just say you want to move it on this like red line in the middle of it. So you just kind of like press X, and would you look at it? Would you look at that? Now you're moving it on the x-axis. Very cool, very nice. But what if you want to move it to the y-axis? This green line right here. So that so what you can do is that you can press G and then move it and press Y. Now you can move it on the y-axis. Same goes for the z-axis. Just press Z, and there you go. Very nice. Basically, press G and then X, Y, and Z. Very simple to understand. Anyway, now I'll show you how to actually add objects to your world and stuff, to this empty black void. So if you click on this add button right here, right, there's a lot of things you can add here, but mostly you're gonna probably add cubes and cylinders. Like so, you can just kind of like click on the cube and then move it, probably move it a little bit, and boom, you have another cube. Very nice, very cool. Do you want another cylinder? There you go, buddy. Very nice, very cool. But wait, now you have too much objects in your scene. What can you do? Well, you can just kind of like press X and then press delete. Really simple. Anyway, now I'll show you how to make objects. Very nice. So with anything, right, you gotta have a reference. So it's quite simple, really. A reference is basically something you look at to see what you're kind of missing, right? Do you have like certain details, right? Or you know, maybe or maybe you need to see what you can add next. You need a reference, because references are probably the most important thing in any sort of projects, 3D or 2D. References always important. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to make a car, right? So before I usually add a reference, I would first snap my view to one of the X or Y axes. Because if I were to just add the picture, just like kind of like this, right? It's gonna be slanted, so that's why I kind of just added along the views like this. you can just kind of like drag and drop the picture in here, and there you go, you have a car. Very nice. So this is how you would actually make the car. So first, what I would do is that I would try to get the width of the car right. So how do I actually shape the cube? Well, first things first, right? I'll press S as in for scale, and then I'll press X. Now would you look at that, I'm actually moving the cube around. Let's just say I want the scale to be at least like this, right? Very nice, very cool. Now the car is, the width is at least right. Now the next thing I would do is that I would try to trace around the car, right? Basically trying to trace the car. This is the most basic way to actually get your, to actually model something, right? Get a reference and then trace over it. So how I would do this is that I would first go into wireframe mode, which is you can just kind of like click it up here, right? Like here, right? You see the circle with lines? Click it. This is wireframe mode. Why wireframe mode? Because if I were to just kind of like select the lines right here, right? These lines aren't selected. So if I were to move it around, these lines won't move. But when I go into wireframe mode and select the lines like this, suddenly these lines are also selected. Very nice. Anyway, so get into wireframe mode and just kind of like trace over it. Remember what I said before: G, Z, G, Y, and GX. That's how you move your objects around. And this would be useful for tracing and stuff, right? So try to get it accurate as possible. But let's just say, alright, you hit a roadblock, right? What if you want to actually extend your model? Well, that's also simple. You can select the face, select the part you want to extend, like this, and you can just kinda press E, and then you can just kinda like do this. Very nice. Now you can kinda put it like this. You know, try to shape it as you please. Alright, so another roadblock. Oh no, what will I do? So let's just say, right, I want to have a line that's going in the middle of it, right? So what I would do is that I would use the loop cut tool. Basically, you would just kind of like go here and just kind of like click it, and then suddenly there's like this yellow line going in the middle of it. If you can click the yellow line, right, and suddenly there's a line in the middle of it, right? You can also kind of like just drag it around, get like the perfect shape of it. But let's just say here, and then you can just kind of like do this. Now the shape is becoming more and more perfect. You can just kind of like keep going if you want to make the shape more more perfecter. I don't know if that's a word, but fuck it. We'll just say it is. Anyway. So we have the front. Now it's time for the back. Remember, if you want to extrude, press E and just kind of like drag out. And then, if you want to grab something, press G and press the axis you want if you want to drag it along some sort of axis. Yes. Just kind of get this perfect, get us all perfectly lined. We can clean up the vertices later, but for now, let's just have fun. And yeah. This is coming along quite well. We have the back of it, although I probably should make this bottom part more smoother. Just kinda. Alright, we have this little station wagon here. Now it's time for the top part, which is also simple, don't worry. We'll just drag it out here, and then we'll just kinda collapse in on itself. Collapse in. Just like so. I know this is simple, but it's always good to start simple, start blocky, and have fun a little. Make little cars, make little guns, make little people doing little people stuff, like existing. Yeah. And yeah. We have the body of a car. Actually, I might need to extend that a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Time for the wheels. So so that's pretty simple, really. The cylinder. Oh yeah, I forgot actually to teach you how to rotate stuff. Oh well, I'm a bad teacher now, am I? Anyway, whatever. So if you want to actually rotate something, right, you first have to select your object, and you gotta just press R. Ooh, speed. Okay, enough of that. Anyway, press R, and then what I would do is that I would press X so that I can just kind of like rotate on the axes, right? So let's just say I want to rotate on the Y-axis. And then what I would also do is that I would press numbers, right? Usually 90. Hold on. Usually 90, because I'm trying to rotate it 90 degrees. Now it's in the perfect form of a tire. Again, just drag it over here, scale it down, and then scale it even more down, and yeah, we have something that looks like a tire. We'll just kind of like move it here. Yeah. Very nice. Alright, so in the next clip, right, you'd see that I would like, duplicate the tire just like that, but haven't actually shown how to actually duplicate the tire, so yeah. So I'm gonna show it right here. So what you would do is that you could like press Shift D, and there you go. You can duplicate duplicate the object. Very cool. Do it the same for the other side, and yeah, that looks tire-ish. But what if you want to put it perfectly on the other side as well? What can you do? Well, that's also simple. So what I would do is that I would add a plane, and then I'll rotate the plane like 90 degrees, remember? I'll rotate it 90 degrees. So remember, select the object, press R, and do like 90 degrees. Do like 90 degrees by pressing 9 and 0. And then you can just kind of like scale it up. Alright? By doing this, I'm practically halving cutting the object in half. So another thing, I would probably join the tires to these like tires together, right? So now they're one object. So we're gonna go into modifiers, right? Basically in this like little wrench tool here, right? So that you can now add a modifier, right? I know this looks crazy, but really it's not. Anyway, in modifiers, add a mirror modifier. You see where this is going, right? So in this menu, on mirror object, basically select the plane, and would you look at that, it starts mirroring. But of course this is wrong. So we'll deselect this and probably select the Z-axis. And there you go. It's now perfectly mirrored. Ooh. Very nice. Anyway, we can just kind of like apply that and delete that. Now we have 4 tires. Very nice. Very cool. All right. So this is a good little car that we have here. Let's see what's next. Let me figure out some crap. Oh, we should probably make the car smooth. So of course, you know, this car, it has a lot of bumps and edges, and it looks amateurish, right? What can we do about it? Well, for starters, right, we can just select the car, and we'll just say shade smooth by angle, and that looks better. But wait, there's still a few angles that are just not that good looking. So what can we do about it? Well, we can go into edit mode, right? And then we'll see there's this like blue lines suddenly. Basically, the program is saying, hey, these lines are the sharp edges of the object, right? So that's why we have these random sharp edges. What can we do to actually remove said sharp edges? So what can we do is that we'll go to vertex selection, basically just these dot things, to just selecting these dot things, to selecting the edges of it. Basically just kind of like move over here. Now what you can do is that you can select the edges now instead of the vertices, basically these little points here. So of course, select the edges that you don't want to be edges no more, to be sharp angles no more, sorry. And then, what's this? Right click, and clear sharp. Now, what you can do, if you enter into object mode again, now suddenly it's smooth. Very nice, very cool. And then, this back part, yeah, we'll just kind of like clear that sharp. Now it's smooth. Same goes for the tires. Shade smooth by angle, and yep. Very nice. This car is now smooth. The extra details we can add later, but Probably the last thing I'll teach you is how to cut holes into your objects, right? So for starters, these tires, we want to actually have a little hole in them. Why? Because I don't know, it looks good. Anyway, we'll go back into edit mode, and we'll separate them from the actual model. We'll separate these models, these tires, into individual models. So how I would do it is that first I would hover my mouse over the tire I want to separate. Press L to select the entire tire without selecting the other tires, right? And then what I would do is that I would press P and separate by selection. Now if I were to go into the object mode, I can just kind of like select this tire, move it around and stuff, and the other tires won't move. Whilst the other tires, you can just kind of like move around like this. Very nice. Anyway, L, P, separate, L, P, separate, L, P, separate. Okay, so now every tire is now separate from each other. Another good thing, hold on, sorry, my brain just blanked out for a second. Anyway, why do I want to separate these tires into individual tires? Well, for starters, the Boolean modifier will work better if it were just kind of like single objects, just kind of like cutting into another single object. Basically, if the object isn't complicated, the Booleans are gonna have an easier time cutting into each other without overlapping each other, without Z fighting and all that, without the vertices, you know, being all whack and stuff. So yeah, that's why I'm gonna separate them into their own little separate little objects. So in the modifier tab, right, this little wrench icon here, remember that. I'll select the object, go into modifiers, and then add modifier, add a Boolean modifier. So of course, we're gonna select this tire, right? And I know it looks whack now, but don't worry, we'll fix that later. So basically, if I add the Boolean modifier on this like car here, it's basically saying, hey Blender, I want you to cut into this car model, not in the tire model. Basically, use this tire as a shape to cut into the object, right? And of course, Blender is using this using the tire as an object to cut into the car. And we'll set it to apply, and now we have a hole. But wait, it looks ugly now. What can we do to actually fix it? Simple. So of course we'll go. So basically what's happening here is that Blender is smoothing this out even though it's a hard edge. So of course that's why it looks like shit. How to make it look like not shit? Simple. We'll go back into edit mode. We'll select the edge selection mode, and then we'll just kind of like, we'll just kind of like select this entire tire area, right? How I'm doing this is basically how I'm kind of like doing this, you know, having this all selected at once, is that first things first, I select it, I just kind of like click it, like click the edge right here, and then if I want to have like, if I want to select these edges at once, I'll go to here, right, go to the tail end of it, press CTRL, and then bam, now everything is connected. Same goes here, right? This white part basically saying, hey, this is the beginning of your selection, and now at the tail end of the selection, I press CTRL again, and then press it, boom, now it's all selected. I'll select this one and this one as well, and then I'll mark it as sharp. There you go. Now it looks less crappy. Time for the bottom part here. We'll just kind of like select this, and then mark sharp, and now the hole is looking cleaner. Very nice. The hole now looks very clean. Time for the other bit of it. Again, Boolean modifier on the car. Select the tire, and again the problem arises. Don't worry, we'll fix it. I'll just hide the object by clicking this little eye up here, right next to the little camera. And then what I would do is that I would go back into edit mode, and then start selecting, right? Remember, this is if the selection is white, it's basically telling us that that's the beginning of what we're selecting, right? If I want to actually select all of this in one click, remember CTRL and place where you, oh fuck my brain. Anyway, place it at the end of the edge. So I'll say right here, right? Because if I just kind of like click it right here, oh, actually that worked. Damn it. Sometimes the Blender would kind of like bug out and just kind of like select this edge right here to here. So that's why I'm kind of like hesitant by it. Anyway, so yeah, take the beginning and then select the end. Press CTRL and select it. There you go. There you go. Now it looks better. Time to fix the bottom part. Do it like this. Mark sharp. If you can't tell, this is gonna take a. I've been talking for a while and my brain is just lacking behind, but I probably should take a break.